How you guys doing? My name is Steve. I'm starting a couple of minutes early. We got a very long, very large show to talk about today. There's a lot going on, man, in this country of ours. A lot going on. For anyone that's just tuning in, my name is Steve. The show is called Wake Up America. I do have a fan going right here. Hopefully it doesn't cause too much audio interference, but it's extremely hot today, and our AC is having a hard time heating up this room. So I'm going to have it on for the show. Hopefully it doesn't cause too much of an interference. I already said that, but yeah, we're good. This episode is brought to you by Spartan Armor Systems. Protect what's yours by visiting SpartanArmorSystems.com and using code YEET, and that'll get you 10% off your body armor order. They are an awesome Arizona-based company, and they make some incredible products, so make sure you check them out. And let's just jump right into it, man. We've got such a long story. I want to give a shout-out to everyone that's watching on YouTube and everybody. If trolls do come in, my mods will get them. Don't worry. Don't engage with them. Just tag April in the reply or any of the mods there, and they'll just get rid of them. So there's a ton of news, man. A ton of news today. And I was just reading about something. It's called, what is it? It's on Outside Voices Substack, basically, and it's this. You guys may remember. I'm not going to even talk about it too much. I didn't even get to read the whole thing, but there's a mega viral thread on MAGA voters written by a guy named Daryl Cooper. Now, the thread was mentioned on Tucker Carlson. He did a whole 7-minute segment on it. Donald Trump also mentioned it at his speech. Was it last weekend? I don't remember. He mentioned it at his speech as well, and Daryl Cooper actually wrote a very long article, actually, where he breaks down his reasoning behind it, and it's pretty good. So I think, I don't have the link handy. I don't really allow links in our chat, but if someone wants to, April, if you want to put that up, it's Outside Voices .substack, blah, blah, blah. But it's a very good read, and I suggest everyone read it. I don't have the chat open, so April, I just texted you the web address. So if you want to put that one in the chats, that would be cool, because I just think it's a good read for people to read if you like to read. Saj, close that door for me. So one of the bigger news stories today was the White House press secretary says people who have been banned from one platform should just might as well be banned from all of them. She doubled down on previous comments implying that the White House is colluding with big tech that have to oppose, or I don't know, I messed up on what that said, but they're colluding with big tech to censor those that have opposing views, aka they call it misinformation. Saying Friday that people who have been banned from one platform should not be able to use other platforms to spread information. Now, it was kind of interesting because the White House was like the White House press conference today was like one that I wish we had all the time, where people had a lot of questions about this. Because again, the thing about censorship and the thing about when the government is overstepping their bounds, everybody asks questions. Now, a lot of times, and we've seen this with the Democrat and Republican joint committee meetings against big techs, Facebook, Google, and Twitter, where it seems that the Democrats are going as hard or harder than Republicans at holding those social media platforms accountable for censorship. It's for different reasons, though. The conservative talking heads or conservative viewpoint on the censorship issue is that nobody should be censored, that everybody should be able to say whatever they want. We have, that issue here where, even what I deem as hate speech may not be what you deem as hate speech and different things like that. But from a bigger level, they believe that, misinformation is well, it's not misinformation, because look at the things that people have said in the past that have been flagged or had accounts taken down. Stuff with the election. Look at what's going on in Fulton County. There's a report now that 10,000 votes, up to 10,000 allegedly, see how I'm doing that, may have been fraudulently cast. Biden won by 12,000 votes, and they're saying that number may be upwards of 40,000. And it's really interesting because when you look at the lawsuits that everyone, remember the judges dismissed? Well, this one they didn't actually dismiss. The Trump administration filed the lawsuit in December, and a federal judge there took 30 days to assign it to a judge that would be able to hear it, which put that 30-day mark after the electorate was cast on January 6th. I believe the date was January 8th. So the Trump team, the legal, legalists there, the legal team just withdrew their complaint because at that point it was futile. They couldn't do anything. And now it turns out that the allegations that they laid out in their claim were true. And not only were they true, they've been backed up now by where is this article? Let me see if I can't find this. Right here. They've been backed up by the Federalists. The Federalists and the Georgia Secretary of State sent representatives from the Georgia Secretary of State to speak with the Federalists, where they confirmed that the actual law that Donald Trump was objecting to, or saying was going to challenge the ballots, essentially, that law would have invalidated several, dozens, tens of thousands of votes. The Secretary of State's office confirmed that the investigation into the approximately 35,000 residents who moved from one county to another more than 30 days before election remains ongoing. So there's an ongoing investigation, although right now nothing's going to happen. The only thing we're going to be able to prove, and this is the whole reason why the Georgia election bills and all that stuff that went through, that's why they went through, because people noticed a discrepancy. Georgia lawmakers noticed this issue, but it was too late because everyone just shut it up, and everyone wants to talk about the big lie, and CNN, and they run the headlines all the time, and they mention it in quotation marks, the big lie. Well, they should be calling it the big truth now, because it seems like a lot of the allegations that the right has made towards our election seem to be coming true. Section 21-2-18 or 218 is that law that says that people that move outside of 30 days, they have to change their address. They can't cast their vote in the previous county where they live. They have to cast their vote in the new county. And there's upwards of 30,000 people. They've already confirmed 10,000, but there's upwards of 30,000 people. And again, remember what that margin is. Remember what that margin of error was for, or not even the margin of error. Look at what the vote count was. Biden apparently beat Trump by 12,000 votes. So according to the Federalist, Section 21-2-218 must be read in light of 21-2-224. The Georgia officials stressed in the latter provision, according to the Secretary of State's office, requires a clerk to allow electors named on the voter list to deposit their votes in the ballot box. However, Section 21.2-224, on which the Secretary of State's office relies, only requires electors to be allowed to deposit their ballots according to law. And therefore, it's difficult to fathom that how a provision that says you can't cast a vote in a county which you don't live, that's what Georgia's saying, is they're saying, well, we have this double standard in voting laws. We have one law here that says you can do it, and then you have the second law that says that they can accept the ballot, where you have a preceding law that says you can't accept the ballot, that it has to be cast in the county that the ballot was meant to be cast in, which is why the politicians there in Georgia pushed through the Georgia voting integrity bill. All this stuff where the left is paraded that as a Jim Crow era law and all this garbage. It's because we had major issues with our election. Whether you're left or right leaning, you have to agree that we had some major flaws in our election. If it's not telling that 10,000 plus people may or may not have allegedly cast votes when they shouldn't have, that's a problem. And that's not even talking about all the stuff with Arizona. Arizona is its own thing. My guess is that the electorates are going to be pulled back. But again, for what? It's not going to accomplish anything. Nothing is going to be done. Unfortunately, right now, Joe Biden is the president. And that's not going to change. And I'm going to maintain that. Yes, we can all, argue this big lie actually seems like it's a big truth. Almost every single fact that they say is part of the big lie seems to be truthful. There seems to be truth to it, which is the same thing. And that's why that article that I mentioned in the beginning is a very good article to read, because it talks about just how Trump supporters, and I'm using quotations a lot in this episode, but Trump supporters become radicalized. Because we have a pattern now since 2016 of literally being lied to. consistently, concurrently, and without penalty when they're found out to be false. You have Hunter Biden's laptop. The mainstream media just pretended like it never even existed, and they're still doing it. They're still, I mean, there's a news story I was going to cover. I'm going way out of focus here, but with Hunter Biden, prosecutor investigating Hunter Biden's laptop stalled to avoid alerting public about probe ahead of the election. That's a new report from Fox News today. The federal prosecutor investigating Hunter Biden's taxes reportedly waited until after taxes, not laptop, reportedly waited until after the election to seek search warrants, which stalled the public from finding out about the probe. Now, wouldn't you think? I mean, it's the same reason why the left just literally did not talk about the laptop. It's the same reason the New York Post was banned from Twitter for 10 days for publishing about the laptop. It's the same reason hundreds and hundreds of hundreds of people had their accounts suspended for sharing information about that laptop. But then it turns out the laptop is true. We know now the laptop is true. We know now, we learned after January 20th that, oh yeah, the FBI knows about the laptop. They know that there's criminal stuff on the laptop. They know there's all these emails with foreign dignitaries and all this stuff that show, that the Biden family was profiteering off of the son's business relationships. We know all that now. Again, where's the fallback? Where's the fallback? Did the New York Times or any of these other people that won all these Pulitzers for writing all this stuff about whether it was the Clinton, the Russia Spygate, whatever the hell they want to call it, that turned out to be completely false? Remember, they all said Manafort was the one who paid all these people. It turns out the Clinton administration, or not administration, the Clinton group did, and they know that. Those are facts now. We know that 100% conclusively. We know that's true. Is there any fallback from the media or from these talking heads on the left, some on the right, that lied? We want to talk about what the big lie is. What's going on in our country right now is a big lie. And it's far worse than just what's happening in Washington. This whole thing, this news cycle, all these stories I'm going to tell you about tonight, these are all part of the big lie. The fact that our government now is publicly, and here's the crazy part, there's a meme going around with two quotes. One from Jen Psaki last week saying, essentially, to say that the White House would be collaborating with social media to spy on political opponents is outrageous. Then this week, she literally says the White House is collaborating with social media to stomp out disinformation. Again, disinformation that has been proved correct. Disinformation that has been proved truthful. The lab leak. What is hydroxychloroquine? All those things have now been proven to be true. And yet there's no accountability. It just doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about it. It doesn't exist. It's all just a figment. And anyone who thinks or anyone who continues to talk about that kind of stuff, you just have to know that the leftist thinks you're a radical and that it's acceptable. The White House has said that the majority, they lie almost daily in these press briefings. How many of you guys watched that when I still covered the White House press briefing every day, which we'll start doing back in September again? But how many of you guys remember when we would cover those every day? And Jen Psaki made a statement saying that the population at that time, the people that were unvaccinated were middle-aged white men. They had the lowest number of vaccination rates. Well, guess what? That wasn't even true then. It's still not true now. At the time she said that, white people were number 4 on the demographic of people that were not vaccinated by the COVID-19 vaccine. Or let's not even call it a vaccine because it's not. But do you know what I mean? This whole, they just lie constantly. If you listen to CNN, it's lie. If you listen to the White House, it's lies. If you listen to Joe Biden speak, it's lies. He says one thing and then she comes out here to do damage control and does even more harm. Even more harm. She said the other day, yes, you have a chance of dying if you're under 27 and you get the vaccine. How come that isn't a major headline? How come every single one of you right now that's watching this show, how come every single one of you didn't have that replaying in your head? And granted, if you watch my show enough, you heard me say it a couple of times. But she literally says this stuff and nobody holds them accountable. This is what our current administration is. It's just, this is our life. This is the America. And to top it off now, someone asked a really good question, and then I'll jump into the news. Sorry, I know I'm rambling here, but, that's how I do it. And one guy on Facebook said I'm talking too quick. I apologize for that, but this is what happens when I'm amped up. You'll get used to it if you watch. Otherwise, you could slow it down, like on replay, slow it down to like 3/4 speed, and then I talk like a normal person. Just kidding, not really. It'll still sound quick. But think about it. I mean, now the NFL, and this sucks because I actually had a conversation with a member of my wife's family, and they were asking me about football. They know I'm a huge sports fan, right? So they asked me about football, and they're like, "Oh, are you going to watch football this year?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I'm going to try." I mean, I couldn't watch it last year. Just fundamentally, I disagreed with what they were doing. To wear the names of convicted people that, like, to murder people that were not good people in general, to wear their names on the back of football helmets, where isolating the names of actual innocent victims of last year's riots, whatever you want to call them, disarray. For them to wear the name Jacob Blake on any helmet, it's disgusting. I couldn't watch football, I'll be honest. And this was one of the first years, didn't bet on a game, didn't watch any football. I think I watched the Super Bowl, a part of it, and I watched the opening day game for the Pats, and that's it. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I just couldn't stomach it. And then this year, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it another chance. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to watch football. And then I hear they're doing the Black National Anthem. And what do I care? They're not going to show that. I'm not going to hear it. But someone had posted something that was pretty good online. And they said, what is the left going to do when people start kneeling during the Black National Anthem? Is that going to be acceptable? And we already know the answer. You know damn well, if they started doing that, there'd be riots and racist, names of racism and blah, blah, blah. And people would be fired and boycotts and all the same stuff. And it would all agitate everything again. And I'm pretending like everything right now is perfect, peachy keen. Yeah, the protests and riots seem to have stopped. Yeah, in Augusta, Georgia, those protests seem to have slowed down. Which we'll talk about. I'm going to have another article about that. I'll talk about that in a little bit. Think about it, man. What happens? Once I heard that, I'm like, well, am I going to watch football this year? I mean, I like football. I love football, actually. Am I going to watch it? Am I going to enjoy it like I want to? Because I couldn't last year. Shit, I haven't even watched Red Sox games. Don't watch basketball. Haven't watched basketball. I didn't even watch hockey. I was so let down. In hockey, I mean, they don't do any of that crap. They won't get away with that in the NHL. But, I mean, seriously. The Black National Anthem doesn't ruin it for me. It doesn't piss me off, even. To be honest, it doesn't. But I will applaud the NFL players that kneel during that as a principle. Because to me, we don't, when I say it doesn't offend me, it kind of does. It kind of offends me a little bit because we have a national anthem. We don't have, do other countries regularly have two national anthems? Maybe they do. I don't know. Sometimes it's sang in like English and then Spanish or English and French or something like that. But what's stopping, shouldn't we do a Chinese national anthem then? Don't we have, Chinese Americans that like football? Or one in Spanish? Should we just have 5 hours of national anthems? Should we just have a new national anthem for every single person? What about a bearded man national anthem? Should we have that as well? It's upsetting to me that we even have to have the conversation over and over. It's upsetting to me that I would even say, well, damn it, now I can't watch football again. That in itself is upsetting to me. Because I don't want to have to make a decision on what product to buy because of what I'm supporting, or not buying Oreos because of who they want to donate to, or I'm tired of it. I want America to be the America that it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? And it's really funny because and without going into it too far, over the events that happened this past weekend, there was a lot of people, and maybe some of them were trolls, but there's people that are just genuinely, feel this way. They feel like if a viewpoint skews at any way past what they view as normal. So, like, for example, if I say something that people disagree with because it doesn't align with them perfectly politically, well, I must be a woke leftist. We've heard that. I mean, you look at the comments from yesterday's video, there's people that actually comment that stuff because they just don't understand that America gives the land of individuality. I can believe one thing politically and lean a different way politically, or have different values or different opinions on what I think is protected speech and not. That is the beauty of America, is we are able to identify who we are and what we stand for politically by what we value. But it almost seems now that everyone is trying to, like, that word cancel. Everyone is trying to do it to everybody. You know, I had emails where people are like, I'm going to go to your sponsors and get you banned because you banned someone else from your network. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I mean, come on, man. Because my views align differently with yours. You know, and we do it to the left all the time. And I do it to the left all the time. Shit, I did it today in an article. I don't even remember which one, but I did the same thing. We have so many different things that we're constantly fighting over as Americans. I don't even know if we actually remember what it's like to be American anymore. I think sometimes I forget. You know, in the freedoms that it's supposed to have. Whether you're Democrat or Republican, I just think we're so hell-bent on fighting. And granted, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's not anybody else's fault besides mainstream media and the people that are puppeteering this whole thing that we call American society today. Because that's really it. Mainstream media is just pushing their own narratives. We do it too. You know, I can't write a left-leaning news article if I tried, because I just don't have that value. But then there's articles that come out today, like a federal judge blocked the DACA, making it so nobody, effective today, there will be no DACA recipients. Now, the 610,000 that have already, been given provisional green cards or whatever the hell they get, they're exempt, or there was no ruling on whether their status is removed, but nobody else is getting that. Now, I thought about that as a win for America, right? Because again, people have work to get here. It's not just, coming over as a child or being born here or whatever the hell, I don't even care anymore. But at the same time, I started thinking about it, and I'm like, what? This is a land of opportunity. Shouldn't we afford that opportunity to other ones? Now, many of you guys may be like, well, Steve, that's a leftist way of thinking. To me, it's not. That's an American way of thinking. And I'm conflicted by these things, in terms of border. I saw one person that said, Steve, I knew Steve was a leftist from when he said, how can you turn away a baby at a border? What? That makes me a leftist because I believe in kids and I want kids to be able to be successful. I mean, people have to really concentrate on what it is to be an American, what we value, and to stand for what America is supposed to be. America isn't supposed to be some tyrannical form of government, which we're becoming, or a communist or socialist nation. That's not what it's supposed to be, nor is it supposed to be an authoritarian, you do what I say or we're going to fight about it, that kind of place, because it's not supposed to be that either. We're supposed to be a land where someone, where something happens and we help. If someone needs, their car breaks down, you stop and fix their tire, or give them a ride safely, unless depending on where you stop. But do you know what I mean? That's what America's supposed to be. And so for me, I think, fundamentally as a conservative, I think, securing our border and stopping people, opportunists from, using children in order to be able to stay here, I think that's very important. But at the same time, when I read that article, I was like, this is not a victory. The federal government, the federal judge who signed that DACA thing, I guarantee he's not sitting down right now eating dinner thinking it's a victory. Because there's tens of thousands and more now that Biden's president, but tens of thousands of kids that are crossing into this country every month. Tens of thousands of young children that have that opportunity. And they don't have it now. And again, that's why I say I'm conflicted. You know what I mean? Because, again, I'm a conservative and I want strong borders and I don't want people to take advantage of the system. But at the same time, I'm a humanitarian, I guess, where I want people to actually be able to, I want this country to afford them the same kind of success it afforded me. And my ancestors and my great-grandfather and great-great-grandmother who came over here. I want that same opportunity for other people. If that makes me a leftist, well, I don't know what to tell you. think that makes me an American. But anyway, I went on a tangent. And you'll know why once I get into some of these stories, because we live in such a weird time right now where everything is negative. Everything is negative, and things that don't make sense are happening. Like in Utah, I believe it was Utah or Denver, Colorado. A BLM activist who sits on a school board meeting who was accused of molesting 62 children, 62 immigrant children, mind you. This is a real news story. This is not like a made-up clickbait news story. A Black Lives Matter activist turned school board member that is accused of molesting 62 immigrant children and other minority children. And keep in mind, he was accused by Black Lives Matter Colorado, the organizers of the Black Lives Matter. He was accused of doing this. He voluntarily resigned from the school board while an investigation was going on, and then he made the determination early this week. You know what? There's nothing that's happened with this investigation. He's not facing charges as of right now. So he decided, I'm back on the school board. And now someone that has been, they're accused of molesting 62 people. They're tasked with educating our children? Like, how would that even make any sense in a different, I just don't understand it. That's one of the headlines that just doesn't make sense. And we have a lot of them. Earlier today, I wrote an article. Here's one for you. This is an article I wrote today, too. And it was titled, Hey, Portland BLM crowd, because this is a real question. I have real questions. I would love to have them answered. Could the reason against Commissioner Hardesty, could this be the reason Commissioner Hardesty is against funding body-worn cameras? Did any one of you know that? And here's the thing that's crazy. For anyone that doesn't pay attention to the BLM protests that take place over the past year and that have been flooding the streets, one of the big talking points they want body-worn cameras. They want police to have cameras. For some reason, the controversial, that's the only polite word I can use to name Portland City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty, controversial, whatever. She's an idiot. She doesn't want to fund it. We've heard the chants and demands from Black Lives Matter organizers around the country. They want body cams and they want them now, right? Well, wrong, apparently, because Commissioner Joanne Hardesty announced Friday that she is reluctant to make an expensive investment in body-worn cameras because there has been inconclusive evidence that they provide police accountability and reduce police use of force. What? It's actually not true. There's a new study, which she actually heard this study in her meeting with Department of Justice officials on Wednesday. She heard of this study as well. But there was this study that was performed. It was released in March of 2021 by the University of Chicago Crime Lab and Council on Criminal Justice's Task Force on Policing, which said, according to the report, among departments studied that had body cams, complaints against police officers dropped 17%, and the use of force of police during fatal and non-fatal encounters also fell by nearly 10% when body cams were introduced into those police departments. It looks like the arguments that Joanne Hardesty had were false. But it leads me to wonder why is this politician, and granted, she's done some stupid things. During the Portland riots, she closed the firehouses so police couldn't stage there, which prompted longer response times across the city. She's gone out publicly and she's just a really, really bad person. Just Google her. If you're not familiar with Portland politics, this is a really, really bad person that should not hold office anywhere, but she does. And she's in control of the police department. She's in control of a bunch of other departments, or of the fire department, not police. And she wants to be in control of the police department. It's outrageous. But why would she not be? She sits there to approve the budget for body cams, right? So why would she not want to? Why does she have a reservation on approving, the exorbitant amount for body cams for the officers there when they have all these complaints? What is it? Over 6,000 complaints of use of force during the riots. You know how many of those cases could have been dismissed when you actually have body camera footage? I do, Because, there was another study that was released, and I don't know if I have the date when it was released, but this one was by George Mason University Center for Evidence-Based Crime Policy. It says 92.6% of prosecutors' offices in jurisdictions with body cameras surveyed have used the footage as evidence to prosecute those captured on camera for the crimes that they are alleged. Could Hardesty's reservation to fund body cameras be simply because she knows, based on facts, that more people will likely be charged with crimes because now they'll have more evidence? 92.6% of prosecutors' offices in jurisdictions with body camera footage use that footage as part of their prosecution. Isn't that a weird thing to think about? Now, Hardesty is going to, in part of her statement, she actually said, it's just much more than body cameras. We're not going to approve body cameras because, one, they're a big expense. We don't know if they work. Factually incorrect. We do know that they work. But, you need to do other stuff, which is correct. Which you can't defund the police if you want them to have more training, right? It's very simple concepts. But for some politicians across the country, they just don't figure it out. And I would like to mention that Hardesty publicly asked for people to give their opinions on the city of Portland and whether or not they want body cameras. You could find her tweet where she asked for the community's input. Her Twitter is @JoannePDX. Let her know about body cams and don't be disrespectful. Tell her why should body cams. Is it just because she doesn't want? And here's another thing she understands of politics in the Pacific Northwest. She understands even with the benefit. Hell, police officers arrested rioters for throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers that they witnessed throwing the Molotov cocktails, and the DA there still refused to prosecute them and release them. So, does Joanne Hardesty really worry about more people being convicted? Because, shit, you can witness someone committing a crime and that person's going to be released already. So what's the body cam matter? But she publicly asked for public comment on it. And I think every single one, I don't know how many people are watching. I'm not paying attention right now. I think every single one of you guys should send her a message and say, this is why your town needs body cameras. If even for the simple solution, there's over 6,000 use of force complaints against the Portland Police Department for all these riot incidents that lasted over 150 days. Imagine if all those cops had body cameras. Remember, in the easiest example I can give, Detroit, Minneapolis, wherever the hell it was, where that 15-year-old, remember, you guys know this because I keep referring back to it because it's the clearest and example of why body cameras are super important and why I personally think every police department should have body cameras. Remember that 15-year-old that was shot and killed by police? And they started rioting in the town, and everyone's like, oh, they shot an unarmed guy as he was running away, an unarmed kid. They released the body camera footage about 5 hours after the shooting and after people started rioting and people started getting injured. I forgot what city it was. But when they released the body camera footage, you see the 15-year-old pull the trigger at a cop's head, cop maybe 10 feet away. Pull the trigger. Holding a gun, little kid holding a gun, pointing it at a cop's head and pulling the trigger. Somehow he missed. God willing, somehow he missed. And he got laid out by the police officers, rightfully so. That's why body cameras are important. They're always important. They capture, police officers are going to do their job better, right? Isn't that, it keeps them honest? It's like doing a show like this. I can't, I can delete a show or make an episode private if I don't want to talk about it anymore. Body cameras, you can't even do that. These police officers can't do it. They have no control over what's actually on there. Only their superiors do. How any jurisdiction would object to body camera footage, I don't understand. I understand when you're doing the special ops shit and all the SWAT teams or detective or undercover stuff where you can't necessarily wear that. I get that. But for regular patrol, do police officers not want body cameras? But for some reason, Joanne Hardesty a leftist, like super far left politician in Portland, Oregon, is one of the holdups on why your police department, everyone that lives in Portland that watches this show, that she is one of the holdups on why you don't have body cameras in that city and you don't have people being held accountable in that city. But whatever, I'm just a guy sitting here making a video talking about it. I can only just raise the awareness. It's up to you guys to actually go out and do something about it. And when I say you guys, I mean the people that live in Portland. We hear all the time, you know, Quincy was talking about on his show, like, I mean, granted, his was more religious based, but people standing up. This is a way. Joanna Hardesty is literally asking for people to give her your opinion on whether body cameras needed to, and she specifically only wants to hear from black and brown people, of course, but, you know, that's a regular talking point, so ignore that. Tell her that, yeah, communities need body cameras. It doesn't even matter where you live. I think a department that has one officer for 150 square miles should still have a body camera. You know what I mean? Every single police officer in America should have a body camera. And then the footage should be made public too, as soon as it's prudent. Anyway, the New York City Police Department has shared a video of a brazen daylight attempted kidnapping of a 5-year-old. They need your help identifying 2 male suspects. I'm not prepared. You can find this article. I don't have the picture queued up. The incident happened around 117th 02 Hillside Avenue in Queens around 8 p.m. on Thursday. The boy's mother was able to remove him from the car before they fled. So these two scumbags tried to grab a 5-year-old, shove him in a car, and the boy's mother was able to free him. In seconds, a man snatches the child, runs back to a vehicle, and the child disappears inside. A second suspect can be seen in an orange-colored shirt in the passenger seat. Family was on the sidewalk, including the remaining children. They were not far behind them as they descended on the car. It appears if one of the children halfway jumps onto the front passenger window, and the mother could be seen pulling on the children. Luckily, that kid was saved. And now police are asking for the public's help in identifying. It looks like one of the guys may be white. The guy in the orange shirt looks to be white. The other guy is a black dude. And you guys could find this article. Just search attempted kidnapping on citizenstringer.com. You'll find the article and then share it out. Again, these type of articles are the reason why we do this. This is what you need to do, is share these articles out. Let's see these scumbags behind bars. Or the better alternative, which I can't say, but you all know what it is. Such a weird day, man. Weird day. And here's another story. Oh my gosh. So yesterday there was some interesting stuff. This comes from AmericanGreatness.com. It's Julie Kelly. For anyone who doesn't know who Julie Kelly is, she's going hard for all these January 6th arrestees that are being held. The people that are being held for I guess a guy yesterday was just released after being held for over 6 months on misdemeanor nonviolent charges. But she's uncovering a lot of weird things with these cases, and this is no different. Judge Michael Harvey sounded floored today, in a hearing yesterday, during a detention hearing this week for Robert Morse, who was arrested last month for his involvement in the Capitol protest. A federal prosecutor told Harvey that she needed permission from the government before she could turn over video to the judge, a 30-second clip. She needed permission from the government to give this judge access to view evidence against this guy. It's insane. Joe Biden's Justice Department continues to seek pretrial detention for people who protested President Biden's election on January 6th. Prosecutors want to keep Morse, an Army Ranger and high school history teacher with no criminal record, behind bars until his trial can begin next year. But Assistant U.S. Attorney Melissa Jackson hesitated when Judge Harvey asked to see footage captured by the U.S. Capitol Police surveillance system cited as evidence against Morse. Saying, "Why haven't I seen the video?" he asked Jackson on Wednesday afternoon. She told the judge he could have access to body-worn camera recordings and public source videos, but that the U.S. Capitol Police footage is under a protective order, which is common in almost all of the January 6th cases. So all the publicly sourced video is available, but all the interior video that actually shows what is going on, they're not releasing that. What they're doing is they're putting screenshots out. Why aren't they releasing the entirety of it? I have no idea, but they're just not doing it. After Moore's defense attorney said the photographs in the charging documents did not accurately reflect the video evidence the government gave to her under discovery requirements, Harvey demanded to see it for himself. In anything you show me, he'll issue a minute order to release it to the public as well, he said. There's one judge that actually wants to do their job in D.C., apparently. Jackson informed the court that she would submit the missing video evidence on Friday. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's been released yet. The hearing is the latest example of how hard the U.S. Customs U.S. Capitol Police and the Justice Department are fighting to keep more than 14,000 hours of surveillance video under wraps. Lawyers for the U.S. Capitol Police insist the recordings can't be released. For doing so will give wannabe insurrectionists too much information about the inside of the complex. The department claims the footage is highly sensitive government material. Defense lawyers and media companies, get this, defense lawyers and media companies are fighting for fuller access to videos used as evidence by the Justice Department. Cherry-picked clips produced by the government are released to the media to support the narrative that January 6th was an armed, violent insurrection perpetrated by domestic terrorists who supported Donald Trump. The Biden Justice Department, in other words, has full control over a massive trove of recordings that show exactly what really happened on January 6th, which is why they're not releasing them. The selective clips only tell one side of the story, and that's a story the Biden Justice Department wants the public to see. But in some cases, defense attorneys and news outlets are petitioning the court to make public potentially exculpatory video evidence that would dispute the government's allegations. The Press Coalition, which is a group of 16 national news organizations, including CNN, the Associated Press, and the Wall Street Journal, are among others, have joined attorneys representing John Steven Anderson in seeking a public release of a 30-second clip captured by the U.S. Capitol Police camera system. Anderson, who's a 61-year-old, suffered a medical emergency on January 6th after he was sprayed with a chemical irritant by a, quote, unidentified assailant inside the building. He had several pre-existing conditions, including asthma and hearing loss. And although Anderson was arrested for trespassing that day and then released, he was again arrested in February on a slew of new charges, including assaulting a police officer and stealing government property. But his attorney, Marina Melvin, is asking the court to remove the highly sensitive designation on the clip, which shows Anderson being sprayed and then begging for help. This video is paramount importance due to the defense, as it contradicts the government's case and establishes Mr. Anderson's defense to the serious felony accusations of which the government has charged him with. They're not going to release the video. They're not going to do it. Medved noted that the government picks and chooses which videos will be made public based on how it helps shape the narrative. The government has made Capitol CCTV video public when it bolsters or convenes their case, but the government has already utilized CCTV video in their prosecution of Julian Cotter and George Tanios, two January 6 Capitol incident defendants, and has made CCTV footage available to the public. Those two are accused of conspiring to assault Officer Brian Sitnick with pepper spray. Prosecutors object to the motion, again reiterating the alleged threat posed by publicly releasing this footage. Isn't that weird, right? The People's House? Well, it's not the People's footage. Apparently, you're not allowed to see it. Why? And I'll tell you why you're not going to be able to see it. Because what you're going to see, and this is for all the people on the left or the people that didn't watch what happened at the Capitol that day live, like we did, you're going to see Capitol police officers and specifically one Metro police officer, a short black dude with a yellow puffy police jacket, sucker punch an old man and start a lot of the incidents that happened. A lot of the violence that occurred outside, I witnessed it firsthand, and I'll go on the record and say it. And if anyone wants me to testify it as well, I watched it all. And so did hundreds of thousands, actually, of people watch that with me. We all saw what happened. The initial volley that was going back and forth, I saw a line of patriots that had pushed up to the Capitol, didn't go in yet. Apparently, they were breaking in around that time on the side. But I saw a line of patriots that were standing there. Sure, they were yelling, but they weren't blowing anything. They weren't shooting anything. They weren't doing anything except standing there. And I saw a Washington, D.C. Metro police officer, a scrawny little black dude. And I used to work security, okay? So I've seen this before, all right? And I called it live on the air. I said it was going to happen before it even did. I said that cop is going to punch that old man, and I said it for about 10 seconds. I think I said it over and over because I knew it was going to happen. After working in bars with drunks, it's telegraphed. You could see. He comes out behind the barrier and he punches the old man, which causes all the patriots to push on the cops. That's clear as day. And there's been dozens of reports of this happening throughout and I'm not by any means defending any action that happened at the Capitol that day. Nobody is going to get that screwed up. You know, by watching my show, I can fully condemn violence from the left, so therefore I'm going to condemn it from the right when it happens. That is the people's building and all that stuff. It doesn't give you the right to smash windows, climb through, and smear shit on the walls, because that's my building too. I wouldn't do that in my own house. Why the hell would you do it in the Capitol? People that entered that building illegally are facing the music for it, and I get that. But there's a lot of people that were let in by police that were sitting there through open doors. There were a lot of people that were inside taking selfies with police officers. And again, everyone can argue that this didn't happen. Well, why were so many police officers suspended? Remember that? Wasn't it, 6 or 12 Capitol police officers were suspended in the weeks after that? Several more? Probably. But I know they were suspended. Why were they suspended? Oh, that's right. They were taking selfies and they were letting people in and they were guiding them through the Capitol. Again, you're not going to see video footage of that because that doesn't fit the narrative. So CNN, MSNBC, you're not going to see it. You can just Google it and you'll see it. Capitol Police let in, protesters into Capitol. You'll find the video and you'll find all the fact checks are like, well, they let them in under duress. Well, if you watch the video, tell me, does that seem like duress? And the Capitol Police officers are shaking the hands of the people as they walk in. Again, I'm not talking about the outside where the Capitol Police officers waving people in. I have no idea what that was. He could have been waving at other officers that were off camera. Who knows? I'm only talking about what I actually saw there. And I know that's why they're not going to release it. That's why they're not going to release the stuff that happened there. That's why they're not going to release the name of the Capitol Police officer who murdered Ashley Babbitt, Lieutenant Michael Byrd. I'll do it. And you know what? And why am I saying it? Because he murdered somebody. We held on to it for months. Ask April. We knew who this guy was for months. For months, we knew who he was, allegedly. But we held on to it, thinking there must be something. He's eventually going to be charged, or there's going to be some sort of accountability with it. Nothing. Just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And there's no outrage from the left. Keep in mind, these are the people that protested for people that were killed while protesting or while actively fighting and trying to kill police officers. They lost that fight. People protested and rioted and burned down towns. Where here you have a woman that's inside the Capitol. She shouldn't have been, so she was committing a crime. And she was murdered in cold blood. And I will say that again, in cold blood. Everyone has seen the footage. He was at no physical threat. He was a big-ass dude, and she was a tiny little girl. And he shot her from 10 feet away. He murdered her. And nothing is going to happen to him. And the government doesn't even want you to know his name. They don't want you to know that that's the guy that's responsible for it. In fact, didn't the government last week just say, wasn't it CNN's fact checkers who tweeted out that the guy, the suspected shooter, or the guy that shot Ashley Babbitt, they wouldn't refuse to name his name, wasn't on dignitary protection? So he was assigned to the Capitol, but he wasn't assigned to protect a particular person in the Capitol. Isn't that what they said? Well, shit, doesn't that also fit Lieutenant Michael Byrd, who was in the command of the Capitol Police inside the chamber? It does. But again, it doesn't matter, because just because I say it doesn't even matter. Who cares? The White House doesn't deny it. And the Capitol Police spokesperson to Real Clear Politics, when they wrote this article a couple of days ago where they publicly named him and they asked for comment from the Capitol Police officer and and the spokesperson, you know what they said? No. Do you know what happened when everyone did this too? We didn't write an article on it because we didn't know if it was true or not. But remember, they all named another Capitol Police officer first. And again, the guy should not be on the police. The first Capitol Police officer, David something, I forgot what his name is. He shouldn't be a Capitol Police officer because he had all sorts of anti-Proud Boy, anti-Trump shit all over his Facebook before he deleted it. But they said, everyone was saying that was the guy. Well, when the Capitol Police learned that was a suspect, and all the media journalists or the suspected shooter, when all the journalists started inquiring, they flat out said, nope, that's not him. That's not him. Stop saying it's him. It's not him. Well, how come when reporters are asking whether it's Lieutenant Michael Byrd, guess what they say? We can't give a comment. We can't give a comment. We can't give a comment. Why is the answer different? Is it because Michael Byrd should probably have not been in command of the Senate chambers when he is the same one individual that left a loaded Glock 22 in a bathroom at the Capitol 2 years prior? Maybe. There's rumors again online that say that he was on the personal protective detail of Schumer. That's not confirmed. And I'll be honest, until the U.S. government says that it's Michael Byrd, this is just speculation. Because the government's not going to tell us. They know who it is. And I got a feeling this is one of the reasons why they're not going to release the footage. Because it's going to paint a picture of what was really going on inside the Capitol that they don't want us to know. And I don't know what it possibly could be. But they don't want the public to know what actually transpired inside the Capitol that day. And that's why they're not releasing 14,000 hours of footage. Keep in mind, this transpired over 4 hours, and they have 14,000 hours of footage from inside security cameras. 4 hours of rioting, 14,000 hours of footage. There's a lot of angles in that building that they just don't want the public to see what was really going on. They don't want you to know that AOC probably wasn't in her office. They don't want you to know that Schumer probably shit himself and had to clean it up. They don't want you to know what actually happened inside the Capitol. They only want you to know what they want you to know, which is exactly what our Biden administration is literally doing. See, we're doing a full circle right back to the whole censorship stuff and the banning of misinformation. Because if you have an opposing view right now, they don't want anybody to know. They don't want anybody to see your opposing view, even if it turns out your opposing view is true. They don't want you to know. And when they do ban you and they deplatform you and they say you're a liar and they say it's a big lie and all these other things, when it's proven that what you were saying was actually truthful, they don't apologize. They don't say, hey, you know what? We're sorry. We got that wrong. Half the time, they don't even do a retraction. They just delete their story. Or they employ half-baked shithead fact checkers like David Dale or Daniel Dale or whatever his name is with CNN that can't provide a fact check at all. Literally nothing he says is a fact check. But then again, that's just journalism for you. That's not going to change just because a different person's in office or not. They tell you. Someone said testimony at committee said Congress was evacuated. And here's another thing, too. All right, so the Lieutenant Daniel Byrd, or Michael Byrd, that's not a new name. And you guys can Google it, and you'll find a Senate committee hearing from about 2 weeks ago when the Sergeant-at-Arms, I believe it was the House Sergeant-at-Arms, named him as the shooter. So when the House Sergeant-at-Arms in a committee meeting, and here's the thing, because you want to talk about how fucked up our media is, excuse the language, you want to talk about how messed up, that was I don't know if it was under oath, but I know it was a live committee hearing. So it's all on the record. Well, guess what CNN and C-SPAN did? Can anyone guess what CNN and C-SPAN did to that on the record account of who the shooter of Ashley Babbitt was? They deleted it. CNN and C-SPAN both deleted Lieutenant Michael Byrd's name from the actual, they redacted it to pretend like it never was said. It was Byrd, B-R-Y-D, I think, or B-Y-R-D. They censored the name. But again, who cares, right? How come the only news outlet that's actually publicly saying his name? You know, Fox News actually had it with Maria. Charlie Kirk actually referenced the Real Clear Politics and article that outs it and gives all the reasons behind it. It's a good article, too. Go read it. But Charlie Kirk on what was it, Morning Joe or Morning Bell or whatever with Maria Babalomalos. I can't say her name. She's great, but I can't say her name. Charlie Kirk was on that show, and he listed the name too. Isn't it weird that it's not being fact-checked as false? Isn't it weird that the video hasn't been deleted off YouTube? Isn't it weird that there's not a false information tag on anyone that says it's his name? Maybe there are. I don't know. But again, with the other guy, the David guy, the other Capitol Police officer who had all that pro-BLM shit all over his Facebook before he scrubbed it. Yeah, we saw it because we had an article ready to go, and then I was like, we have to verify this. We can't publish this article because we don't know if this is the guy. And we held on to the article, and then it turns out it wasn't the guy. And we learned Michael Bird's name. I don't know how long it was, a month and a half ago, something like that. And we saw the photos, and we pretty much knew it was him at that time. But we held. Again, we wanted to verify. We wanted to know everything was the way it is. But then again, no one's going to confirm. You have lawsuits. You have the victim of this guy. And here's the thing. So why aren't people protesting? How come Black Lives Matter or all these police groups aren't out protesting in front of the Capitol every day? Is it because to them white lives don't matter? Or is it, the shooter was black, so does that, the officer Byrd, Lieutenant Byrd was a black man, so does that mean that Black Lives matters more than the one he murdered, the life he took in the Capitol? I just don't know. Really don't know. But it is what it is. That's the only thing we can do is keep drawing attention to it and hope that someday, some way, people wake up. Someone said, just to show you still need everything put in writing or better hard copies are needed. Yeah. Someone said you heard 3 months ago. Yeah, man. Things in this country are nutty, and it's just like the opening, I guess, monologue of the show. And it's the name of the show. It's what we have to do. We have to wake up. We have to stop thinking like, oh, you're not a conservative if you do this, or you're not a liberal if you do this, or you're going left. We have to start thinking about what is American and what the American values are and what we value and what kind of legacy do you want to leave to your children. That's what we have to do, because otherwise we're just going to be destined for failure as a country. And we will be the next Cuba, or we will be the next Haiti, or we will be the next Iran. If we can't figure out our stuff. Someone said, am I a Christian? I'll be honest, I'm not super religious. I believe in God. I believe there's a higher thing up there. But I'm not super religious. I'm not practicing anything. Not sure how that relates to this conversation. I know it's because some people said you can't be a Christian, or you can't be a Republican if you're not a Christian, because that, to them, that's the only qualifier of what a Republican is, which is an absurd bullshit argument. Because I know Jewish people that are conservatives. I know, I know Muslim people that are conservatives. I know atheists that are conservatives. But for some reason, we live on this line, just like I said in the beginning. We have this line. It's kind of like this, where if you're not perfectly lined up with what's in front of you, and you don't align perfectly with everyone else's politics, then you're less than. Your opinion doesn't matter. And that's the country, man. That's the problem with America right now. Someone said, I work for Israeli Jews, and they're all extremely conservative and Trumpers. Yeah. Someone else said, because I believe this is a battle of spirit and not the flesh. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know what... I don't know. Because, again, you don't need to be Christian to have spirit. You know what I mean? It's not about religion. And I'm not bashing religion at all. I believe in something. I believe there's no other way to describe what happened here. Okay? In terms of why good things happen and bad things happen. And, I just hate the term it's all part of God's plan, because, well, what the fuck? There's some bad things that happen in life, and I don't understand how they're part of a big master plan. But again, it's not supposed to be a conversation about religion. If you want those, there are other shows. Some that are way religious now. Go watch those shows. This isn't one of those. That's it. Marie said, as long as you have morals, as long as you stand for something. But I think what people need to do is they need to realize again that America is not built on divisiveness as much as everyone, or it shouldn't be. Maybe it is. I mean, technically it is. But we don't need to. We don't need to fight with each other over everything. We don't need to agree with every single thing that the other person says or every other talking point, unless you work for the person. You know what I mean? And then you have a determination to make on whether you violate that or something. But someone said, is Facebook deleting stuff sent through Messenger? Yeah, they do. sometimes too, I got, that was one of the reasons why I got demonetized on Facebook, is because they said spamming messages on Facebook Messenger. But you can, April can attest, we don't even, half the time we don't even reply to the Messenger comments. I don't know how we get spammed. Yvonne said we'll never be a socialist country. Too many of us veterans out here ready to defend our country. Yeah, and I agree. I agree. But then again, I mean, how bad does it have to get before people realize that? We have now, I guess, the jobs numbers, improved this week for the first time in 16 months or 16 weeks. I forgot what it was. Job numbers have improved. The cost of lumber is starting to go down. Fuel is still going up. But is our economy going to rebound with all these payments that you guys got and everyone got? I got it. I don't know how I made a child tax credit, because we don't even meet the threshold from what I understand, based on the tax guidelines. But everyone got these child tax credit, payments. This is just another thing. To me, it's socialist. To me, it's just saying, here's some free money that's not really free. It's going to cost you a shit ton in a couple of months. We'll see you then. That's what it is. But inflation is the worst since 2009. Yep. But yeah, that's the main thing. I don't even know what the main thing is. That's it. I ran through these articles pretty quick today, because I kind of just made it all one big news article. Interesting how I did that. Didn't really mean to. All right, so let me talk about this one other company. And so many of you guys know I've been covering what's been going on in Stanton, Virginia, and these paid BLM protesters who are all allegedly employees of this company called Nexus Services. Now, I've written on it. Some other people have written on it. A bunch of other people have written on it. Drinking Bros actually did a podcast on it, an entire hour on it. And I made a bunch of different videos and things like that. But, dude, this story is even weirder. It's even weirder. Tomorrow I'm going to have an article that's going to come out probably midday. And I tell you, if you think this company was bad before, wait till what you read tomorrow. And I'll be honest, and I don't know if you at some big entertainment company are watching my video, but I sent you an email, and I think you do watch the video. I'm not going to say what network you're with, but you got some big names that are on your network. And I emailed you, the president of that company, today to ask for a comment. I would like a comment back, because I'm going to write about that too, because it's very weird that this big old conservative news outlet is listed in this little Virginia town lawsuit. Okay, it's very odd. But that's going to come later. But, someone said you want a hint. So you want a hint? So one of the unconfirmed things that transpired with this company, Nexus Services, and Mike Donovan and Wayne Schneider and Richard Moore, all these people that are behind this company. One of these unconfirmed allegations that I got were that the patriots that were there and the people that were doing the flag wave said that this company had the sheriff's department under some sort of surveillance, and they were following the deputies home after work to get their addresses. Well, I'm fairly certain I just confirmed that, and again, I have the receipts. So I will be writing a story tomorrow, which is probably just going to be like, it's going to make you go like, what the hell is going on? And why isn't mainstream media picking up on this Nexus story? Just don't know. But so I'm going to have another story on them tomorrow. I swear, it just gets more and more confusing. And then August 10th, they have an actual court date. Now, I can't live broadcast from federal court, but I think I want to be there in person and write about what happens, because maybe they'll all get arrested there in court because they've been told they have to appear in person, which is different than any other times. So I'll have an article on that tomorrow. It looks like, people are doing it again. And then, so we have fake numbers again. They're posting my address again, sending me texts. So for everyone, just for full disclosure, I live on Water Street in Woodstock, Virginia now. Fair warning, you come on my property, you're going to get a big surprise. But I'm tired. I don't answer to Antifa, okay? So you guys send me my address all the time like it's supposed to be a big scary thing. But guess what? Now you know. I don't care. My address is public. You come on my property, we'll see you at the fence. If you make it up to the house, you're not going to make it back down. All right? I've already filed all the necessary paperwork with the police to justify and cover my ass. We already have all the signs and the cameras. I'll see you coming before you do. But seriously, yeah, I mean, I just got live on the air right there. We just got another one. It's, oh, you live on Water Street in Woodstock. Yep, I do. So what? Come see me. Fake ass wannabes. Anyway. Isn't it really annoying, though? Isn't it annoying? And, I won't delete this video because I don't care. I don't, again, I'm not hiding from anybody. Okay? It's enough time. We too many times in the past, patriots have turned and pretended they're not, or Americans have just sat down and just said, well, I can't do this. I'm going to get doxxed. Well, guess what? I just doxed myself because all these little Antifa scumbags want to send me my address or post it online on these different forums. Well, there. Now you don't need to anymore because all viewers know where I live now. And you know what? Not only, you probably won't even make it into the freaking town. Because you know why? The American flag, the BLM may think the American flag is racist. Well, guess what? My town doesn't. And the American flag is fucking flying everywhere. But I don't hide. All right? And that's a message to everybody else. We don't hide anymore. I never did. But I'm not gonna, you can send me your text messages with my address. Guess what? It doesn't affect me anymore. Now everyone knows it. You're special. And a coward because you're texting me from a fake ass number. Text me from your real number. Send me your address. That's a challenge for you. You're watching it. Send me your real address. Bet you won't. And even if you did, I won't put it out. Because I'm not an Antifa scumbag. But again, I want to just point that out. It's enough time for the time is over for everyone to sit back and be like, oh, this isn't real, or oh, I can't go out and do this because I'm going to be doxxed or I'm going to lose my job or any of this stuff. I have the flexibility. I can't be fired. I can't be canceled. You know what I mean? I own this network. I could say what I want on the network and not get taken off because I'm the one that makes the decisions on what goes on here. My sponsors aren't going to bail. In fact, they'll lose, if they do. But my sponsors have my back, just like the real fans do, and the real people that support this channel do, and the real people that contribute and buy the mystery boxes and all that. Those are the people that do this. Those are the Americans, and we need everybody to say, enough is enough. We're done hiding. We're done being afraid. And you know why? And the silence is what allows everybody to get away with what they get away with every day. And I'm done with that. And now, anybody that knows this area, now you know why I moved here. Because, one, I can mow my lawn without being armed. And secondly, man, this town is about as red as it could be red. So, does my wife know how to use guns? Does a bear shit in the woods? Come on, bro. Plus, if you think I'm bad, you haven't met my wife. Where I may shoot someone, she'd tear you apart limb from limb. Anyway, that's the show. It was pretty quick, and I appreciate everyone for being here. I don't know if I got any super chats or anything like that. Got a couple. Got one, I think. Which is fine. It's Friday. Stay mellow. Stay cool. Just remember, we're also demonetized on Facebook, so we don't make any money. We do support through the shirts and stuff like that. We still have mystery boxes for sale. The orders are going to stop on Sunday night. So make sure you go to puretruthclothing.com and buy the August mystery box. It's going to have all new shirts, all new designs, all new stickers, everything in there. Make sure you get it. If you don't, I have all sizes available. I know today I said other emails were going out for the t-shirt plans and all that. Didn't get to it because today was a disaster. And then for the past 5 hours, I've actually just been diving into the Nexus story. So yeah, guys, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be an American. Don't be afraid of that American flag. Don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in. Even if it is something that you are afraid other people aren't going to agree with. That's the one thing you'll never find about me that I'm gonna shy away from. I'm honest. Sometimes brutally. Sometimes you're not gonna like what I have to say. Sometimes I may have an opinion that's different than yours, but guess what? I'm an honest guy, and I'm gonna tell it to you straight. As straight as I can get, because sometimes I do get long-winded. Freedom Flashpoint is going to be live. I think he's going to be on 10 o'clock tonight. And I know he's going to be covering protests and stuff. He's just going to be having a couple of beers and drinking with you. So he's going to be that way. Just like Susan said on YouTube, we are not afraid. We are all ready. We all are ready. Enough is enough. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Not sure if I'll do a video this weekend. Probably will. Also, download this podcast. Search for Wake Up America on iTunes and all that stuff, and you'll be able to find this podcast on there. Go ahead and download it. This one will be uploaded tomorrow. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you later. Bye. Shit, press the wrong button.